Good morning. Today is the 9th day of Iyar, the 17th of May, and we're going to be looking at a verse from the 6th reading of Parshat Emor, wrapping up this week's Parsha. And we're going to be looking at Leviticus 23, verse 40. And this verse describes the four species that we take on Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And it reads like this: on the first day you must take hold for yourselves of fruit of the tree, of the pleasant tree, that's what it's usually described as, or beautiful tree, stays, which really means that, he tried to translate here that it stays on the tree for all 4 seasons. That's the first species. This, of course, is referring to what we call the citron, the etrog. A date palm frond, that one's easy. Branches of a bush, really it should be more like branches or boughs of a leafy tree. And willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before your God Havaya 7 days. Okay, so that's our verse. And we know that this refers to the 4 species: the citron, the palm frond, or when it's closed, it's called the lulav, the myrtle branches, 3 myrtle branches, and 2 willows, 2 branches of a willow. And the way this is usually understood is that, and this is the thing that if you ask anyone, they'll say, we learned that this refers to the Jewish people somehow. And what's the idea? That the citron has both taste and smell. That refers to people who have both good deeds and learn Torah. The smell is the good deeds. The taste is the Torah. The date palm is people who only have Torah. It has taste. It doesn't have any smell because the fruit has taste, of course. Then the myrtle branches have great smell, so those are good deeds, but you can't eat them. So that's not people who only have good deeds, but they don't have Torah. And finally, the willow branches have neither smell nor taste, so those are considered to be people who don't have either Torah or good deeds. That's one of the usual explanations, and based on that, because there's 4, and we know that anytime you have 4, you want to somehow correspond it to God's 4-letter name. So there's all kinds of developments that go from there in Kabbalah and Chassidut also. In the Medrash, in Vayikra Rabbah, we find Rabbi Akiva saying something that is entirely different and goes in a very different direction. And he writes like this: Rabbi Akiva says, the fruit of a pleasant tree, meaning the citron, this is the Holy Blessed One, meaning this is talking about God, in whose regard it is written, you are clothed in splendor and glory. And glory is hadal, same word as what we translate either as pleasant or that the fruit stays on it for all 4 seasons. Branches of date palms, this is the Holy Blessed One. This is also God, in whose regard it is written, the righteous blossom like a date palm. The bough of a leafy tree, the myrtle branches, this is the Holy Blessed One, he says. As it is written, he stands among the myrtle shrubs. This is a verse from Zechariah. The willows of the brook, this is the Holy Blessed One, in whose regard it is written, praise him who rides in the highest aravot, meaning the highest heavens, the 7th heaven, whose name is Ka, Yud-Kei. So, what is happening here? What we need to understand is that there's beauty and unity in each one of these species. And though at first what it means is not directly the way that Rabbi Akiva says here, because we see that the verses that he's bringing in support of his connecting, corresponding each one of the species to God is a verse about the Jewish people. It's not a verse about God directly. So sometimes it is, but even then, the overwhelming majority of the verses have to do with the Jewish people. So really the process here, the process that the Medrash is taking, what Rabbi Akiva is doing in his homily is he's saying, first of all, we need to see the type of unity that each one of these four species represents, and then understand that type of unity, that type of beauty that comes out of unity, is also referring to God. So let's see how this works. So the myrtle branch, where's the unity there? Because the myrtle branch has to be that all three leaves come out of, all the way, you have three leaves going all the way up the branch, and all three leaves have to come from the same, there's like a knob that they come from. It's called a nest in Hebrew. And then it's considered leafy. Leafy means that the leaves are covering the branch. So that's their unity. The willow is called in Aramaic achvana. Achvana means sisters. Because the willows grow densely, and perhaps also because of the rustling sound they make. And it seems that willows in Hebrew also means a mix. Arava is like irbuv. The lulav, meaning the date palm, the frond, in it, like we said, it's when it's closed. It's before it opens up. So all the leaves are closed together and tied to the spine. Even the date palm tree from which the lulav is taken has a unique growth pattern compared to other trees. It is distinguished by a single central trunk from which its fronds grow in all directions. And it does not have branches like other trees. So this too is like that all the fronds come out of the same spine, out of the same root. The etrog, the citron, lives on its tree, like we said, through a whole year. And it also grows by water. That is, it is not found on the tree only in a specific season, but rather you can find it during all seasons. The fruit is already on the tree. It takes it a whole year to mature. So all the seasons leave their mark on it. So we've seen the signs of unity in each species. And now let's see what this unity really means. Okay, so first of all, let's go deeper into this unity. The myrtle hints at the unity of a common root. Having a knob, out of which all the leaves come from, is like having a common root. Although there are branches in the myrtle, there's multiplicity and separation, one can sense and recognize that you are all children of Havaya, your God, and that we all have one Father. That's the idea of coming out of the same root. The shared essence of Judaism emits a pleasant fragrance, and it emerges through the superficial reality measured by human standards, the one that stands out at first glance. The willow, so by the willow here the unity is more obscure. It's felt through the mixture, as we said. This is the unity of actual life, where everyone interacts with everyone else, and the life path of each person crosses that of others. This type of unity lacks taste and fragrance, and it seemingly lacks any uniqueness, completeness, or harmony that transcends multiplicity. So what are we talking about? So it's actually just that it seems like everybody's mixed, but everybody seems to be separate in some sense. So the hidden life-giving point is not felt, meaning if there is a hidden point that's unifying everything, it's not felt so much. So to sweeten the mixture so that the individual does not feel like they are living within an alien and dangerous whirlpool, dialogue must begin. That's why people talk to each other. And the sages say that the leaves resemble lips. And as mentioned above, it seems that its name derived from the rustling and whispering. It's called the whispering willow among the leaves, which also suggests speech. Now, why do we have speech? Conversations are an effort to find a common language and shared interest with others, and to escape loneliness and the war that we experience in life of everyone against everyone. This concept seems similar to peace talks. Peace talks are desired because there is a belief that dialogue will bridge gaps and allow people to live side by side and even in cooperation with one another. However, it is truly understood how limited this is, how these conversations cannot reach the roots of the conflict or provide essential solutions, and therefore how temporary the agreements reached are and how they are destined to crumble. Still, people engage in conversation all the time. And there's this hidden unity that's created through the conversation, through the rustling, the whispering of the leaves. The palm frond, the lulav, so its leaves, which are bent towards its upward spine, meaning they're all connected to the spine, hint at a unity of inner pride, because the lulav is hard. It's prideful in a certain sense, like a common backbone that unites everyone around it. What binds people here is not the acceptance of the realities of life that have mixed all individuals into one boat without any clear taste or fragrance, nor is it about sweetening this multiplicity by discovering that we all have one Father and have branched out from one root, which we had before. Here it is about everyone sharing the same hidden secret, and that secret or mystery is the main desire and purpose of their lives. And what is this mystery? So without having some connection, even as small as the tip of a needle, to that mysterious purpose, their lives would seem meaningless to them. So, what is this? The lulav, it says, resembles tefillin. It resembles the phylacteries that we put on our head. And about that it says, and all the peoples of the earth shall see that the name of God is called upon you, and they shall fear you. The identification of Israel with God and their joy in nullifying any external and created existence in favor of the radiance of divinity gives them unparalleled strength when they feel that. So this is a strength that instills awe in outsiders who stand in amazement, not fully understanding what it is about. So that is the unity of pride in God that the Jewish people have that unites them. Finally, the etrog is typically related to the lulav in a way that compares time to eternity, female to male, and heart to head. In other words, the lulav is like the eternity of Israel that doesn't change. The etrog, the citron, is like time relative to eternity. The two main species in the end are the etrog and the lulav. We take the lulav in our right hand, the etrog in our left hand. And what do they resemble? They also are considered to be like female and male, or the heart and the head. The citron is the heart, it looks like a heart, and the lulav, which again protrudes up, it's very strong, and it's like the head tefillin, is the head. So, what do we have here? The lulav signifies running towards God in one's essence, towards one's root, while the etrog signifies returning to the heart, to the self, to one's actual existence. I will bring it to my heart. Hence the etrog resembles the heart. The more one connects to the running towards the desired and the true, the more during the return, it's called the run and return, it becomes clear how bleak the reality is, meaning my reality, and how far it is from that ideal. So what does the etrog give me? The etrog gives me a sense of lowliness, a sense of how distant I am from the ideal that the lulav represents. So therefore, if we describe the unity of the lulav as a unity of shared inner pride, of a hidden backbone that we all have, we now liken the etrog to a unity of shared inner lowliness or humility. And you could call this shared suffering, but it's not suffering in the sense of that the whole world is against me. It's rather that there's suffering in the world because it's so hard, so difficult for me to live up to what my potential is. So I always feel lowly in the sense that King David says, and I am lowly in my own eyes. I realize my shortcomings. I realize that I'm never going to reach the ideal that I could have maybe reached. And this is a unity that's also shared by all the Jewish people together. So when we recognize different types of unity and beauty in the four species, we then feel the presence of God who animates each type of unity in its various forms. Essentially, we feel different forms of God's unification with the world, meaning in the world. And for now, it's with His close chosen people who joyfully devote themselves to being a means of expression for Him. And in the future, that's the whole point of the holiday of Sukkot, it will be a universal holiday that everybody will share in the unity of God that is brought down during this holiday. And as we've talked many times, there are 70 oxen that are brought and sacrifices, 70 oxen that correspond to the nations of the world, and all the prophecies in Zechariah and elsewhere about all the nations of the world coming up to the house of God on Sukkot. So this is our wrap-up for this week. Thanks for joining again. You should have a Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, and I hope to see you next week when we start Parashat Behar.